Hello, it's Lee here, Fry's Garage. XC Falcon. So customers had it for a while. It's been, it's looked after. 302 Clevo. It's got auto and it's been upgraded. Rear end disc brakes out of the later Commodore, sort of EAEB. Now, braking issues. So customer said he had a hard pedal, very hard pedal, and basically no brakes. The car's been sitting for a while. And what I did is I jacked it up. We checked all the wheels, so foot on the brake, spun the wheels one by one, and lo and behold, the front left, so left steer, was the only wheel that had any brakes. The others were fed no power, no fluid, nothing. So basically, I had to change the master cylinder. I did put it back on. You'll see it's missing because we had some more issues that come to light very quickly. All right. So I bled it all and we had 4-wheel brakes, which was good. But all of a sudden I could hear on my foot depression of the brake pedal a hiss. So I'm like, oh dear. So basically the brake booster, which is basically vacuum assisted hardware, has a seal leak on the diaphragm. So on the pedal, brake pedal depressed, as soon as the popper valve is moved on the inside, atmosphere takes over on the other side and we have a leak. So basically you're hearing the vacuum leaking through into the footwell, so on the driver's chair side, so pedal side. So no good. The way that a booster works, okay, because we use a booster to assist the driver, so the pedal and the foot need minimal effort as such to supply good fluid pressure to all 4 spots of the wheels. And the way that it works is an engine, as we know, petrol only, not diesel, creates quite a high vacuum. That's an engine that hasn't been modified with quite a high duration cam with overlap. So there's always, when the engine's running, there's always vacuum, which is ported here with a one-way check valve. All right, so we see that here. So this here, we'll get out of the way. So there's our one-way check valve, okay? And that hose goes to the intake manifold of the engine. So when the engine's running, we have continuous suction here, which creates vacuum. So in the master cylinder side, so this side here of the booster, we have vacuum, okay? Now, on the opposite side, there will also be vacuum. Now, what happens is when you put your foot on the pedal, what will happen is the little popper valve inside changes direction. We will lose vacuum on one side, and what happens is it is now open to atmosphere, which is 1 atmosphere is what, 14.8 psi. So we have a lot of vacuum on this side. We have positive pressure on the pedal side. So we have a piston and diaphragm that will come this way, all right? Because on the left side of my hand is pressure, 1 atmosphere, and depending on where you live and how high on the mountain you are. And the right side of my hand is vacuum. So you can see how the pressure will overcome the vacuum and very happily assist that way, which means that the rod will come out with assistance, and that pushes on the master cylinder piston, which is this one right there, and then that puts the mechanical advantage onto the fluid for fluid power, and then to the brakes, and then you have application of brakes. All right, so I'm going to show you guys how to rebuild a booster. So many people are scared of this. I mean, most of us mechanics, we rebuild engines from Briggs & Stratton up to Caterpillar V12s and transmissions and gearboxes, but for some reason, when someone says a brake booster, oh no, send it out, send it out. Well, you can do this at home, guys. I'm going to show you. So I'm going to stop now. I'm going to remove it. We'll put on the bench. I'll show you how to disassemble it and then how to assemble it, install it, and let's see if it fixes the problem. Okay, see you soon. Hey guys, how are we? So we're back, brake booster number 2. All right, so Merry Christmas to everyone. It's after Christmas now, so I think it's the 28th of December, still 24. I've had a few days off. I've let this brake booster soak with WD-40 around the casing where the seal is and the locking mechanisms, which I'll explain more in a minute. And I put my bars on it, and lo and behold, she's come apart. So great thing. Too many people look at brake boosters in the past and they're scared of them. I've said it before, but because I'm passionate about giving everything a go, like you got to give it a go. We've got a big focus these days, and employers and the retail industry, it's a throwaway society. I hate that, because we talk about lack of skills, but we're not doing anything about it. All right. Now, when I say lack of skills, I like teaching skills to people, but they want to learn too. They've got to be into it, because I won't waste my time with people that don't. But I love giving this information, but at the same time, we need people to start listening and enjoying what they're doing, so we get some more skill sets into this world. So anyway, I'm not a fan of throwing things away, as most of you know. Most things are designed to rebuild. All right, there's kits out there. We've got lathes, we've got machinery, we can make things. In this case, this booster is $900. The customer doesn't really want to spend $900 unless we have to, which is my my attitude as well. All right, so obviously when you're talking retail, we've got some hourly rates, we've got some labor time, so it's got to be economical. And what I mean by that is, by the time I strip this booster, clean it up, re-kit it, the parts, because they're about a couple $100 usually these days, at the end, it's going to have to be less than $900. Otherwise, I could just simply go to the shop, order online, Amazon, whatever, and get a $900 booster the next day. All right, so that's why we strip and assess. Very, very important part of mechanical and most other things as well. So I'm just going to flip the camera around and I'll show you what I've found, which I knew would be the case anyway, because this is why boosters generally destroy themselves, and it's because of brake fluid leaking through a failed master cylinder. So generally we'll see a little bit of brake fluid or a stain down the back of, or the front side of the booster behind the master cylinder, and that generally means that the fluid will get behind the seal into the booster, and the rubbers don't like brake fluid. All right, so I'm going to turn the camera around and I'll show you what I found. All right, here we go. All right, sorry for the mess. There is crap everywhere. I don't stop. Most of you know me, I don't stop. I don't have time to stop, but I've got enough room here to work. So what I did, so I put it in the vise, as you usually do. Okay, there's a return spring there, and what I did before we stripped it is, oh God, come here, I marked it. All right, you've always got to have a reference point. These ones are quite simple. You basically just turn them about 30 degrees and the locking tab's open, and then you have to secure it down, because there's a spring. Little springs can still do a bloody lot of damage, trust me, and I'll tell you how I know. I won't, because it's a black past. All right, so I just simply use a strap, okay, and then release it slowly. So there we go. Have a look in there. Look at all of that junk. That is rust and bits of crap from a leaking master cylinder. All right, so it's basically brake fluid. Okay. Now in the main body, we have the disc. All right, here's the disc, and then you can see the diaphragm. All right, this just feels like jelly. All right, so two things that happen here. So that's the bottom side. That's where the brake fluid's been sitting. Okay, so it's come through and just sort of gone onto everything. All right, so when there's vacuum inside there, obviously there's the molecules of the brake fluid can sort of float around, and that's how you see it everywhere. And when there's no vacuum, it will drop to the ground. So I just want to go through the operations of the brake booster again, just to make sure I was sort of clear. I mentioned it before in the first video, but I just want to make sure there's a bit more clarity on it. Okay, so I've drawn a picture. Okay, so here's the picture. So here we have the booster. Okay, this is the brake pedal end. All right, so that is that there. Okay, and then On this side, we've got the master cylinder, or then obviously the lines to the wheel ends go to the master cylinder. So at the end of the day, what we're wanting to do is this rod needs to go left, right? But we want minimal effort via our leg, okay? And that's why we have this vacuum brake booster, all right? So it's power assistance via the use of vacuum, okay? So just to get this clear, when the engine is at idle, okay, and you're sitting in the car with your foot off the brake, okay, you're just sitting in the car, engine running, there is vacuum on this side and this side of the your main. This is very a basic setup, all right, this picture. So that there is your reaction discs and the bellow tube, okay. So there's going to be vacuum on this side. I might just draw in something there. So the vacuum is generated via what? The engine. That's correct. Okay, so there's a little fitting here. It's a 90-degree fitting, all right, which has got a little check valve in it as well. Okay, so the engine is drawing vacuum. Okay, so it's always sucking out, all right, from here. So it's creating a vacuum in here, right? But there's a little bypass valve in the center here, okay? And that allows for the vacuum to be on this side too. Now, the way that this works is, excuse me, whoops. When I put my foot on the brake, all right, this disc here that has a seal, right, allows the vacuum to come out to atmosphere. All right, so we know that vacuum, generally if the engine is running a 17 inches of mercury vacuum, then 17 of inches of mercury vacuum is going to be on both sides. Now, outside, around you, is 1 atmosphere at sea level generally. So 1 atmosphere, okay, 1 atmosphere is basically equal to what we would know about 14.5 psi, okay? So 14.5 psi is basically half what's in a tyre, okay? So if we've got 14.5 psi on this side, because we've lost the vacuum, but we have a vacuum on this side, so the vacuum is pulling against this centre disc, and we've just lost the vacuum on this side to pressure, what have we got? We now have a chamber that's going to fill up with pressure, and that is now going to allow to push on the center disc, which is this here, okay, and then it's going to allow the reaction disc to do its thing. All right, I'm not going to go too technical on this, but this is basic operation, and the rod will come to the left and push on the master cylinder, which in turn will push the fluid to the wheel ends, and you have brakes, okay? Now, when you take your foot off the brake, we now have a seal, okay? So now the piston in the center has come back to central point because the spring, all right, that's that spring we pulled out, that one there, okay? That spring has now pushed it backwards to the right in this case, okay? So now we have what's called standby position. Vacuum is now created in this side and this side, so we now have a balanced area, okay? So then what happens? We're at the lights, we go, and then we've got someone that pulls out in front, okay, down, we hit the brakes, so we push on the brake pedal, all right? So that's going that way, which moves the rod to the left, and that again opens up the sealing discs and allows the vacuum that was here to be overcome by 1 atmosphere, all right? That's going to be variable depending on where the hell you are in the world, okay? You could be at the top of a mountain, you could be below sea level, all right? But at the end of the day, you're always going to have a positive pressure. Otherwise, if we live in vacuum, we're basically in space. Bodies don't work like that, okay? So there's always going to be pressure in here, and in turn is always going to push this way. So you've got pressure on this side, and you've got vacuum sucking that way. So you're going to have quite an easy reaction and assistance to the left, okay? So hopefully I haven't confused you. It is so basic. These brake boosters, look, there's not much to them. The only thing I am going to say to watch out for is in the back here, I don't know if you can see that. So there's a plastic piece. All right, now that goes inside. Don't throw this around on the table, on the floor, on the workshop floor, because this plastic piece, you cannot buy them anymore. Well, I say you can't. I'm sure someone around the world makes them, but it's going to be expensive. You just know, right? Don't smash it. Be careful with it. If you put into a vise, if you put into the vise, you don't want to go anywhere on the center of the plastic or here, because you're going to crush it. I always use any studs, or I'll put some blocks of wood. So when I clamp it in the vise, I'm not going around these areas. That's a bad thing, okay? Apart from that, it really is quite simple. If we have a look on the inside, I'll just get a little screwdriver here. You can see that, oh, there you go, look at that. So, I don't quite get in there, just want to get some light. You see that little bit of rubber here? Can you see that rubber? It's part of that seal that I was telling you about, where the vacuum is overcome by atmosphere. All right, and that's where it was leaking. So I put my foot on the brake when it was in the car, and I could hear tss, all right, which is vacuum leaking out, all right, the wrong side. So you can see, well, look at that. She's seen better days. All right, so in a nutshell, that's where we're at with that. I'm going to clean it up, assemble it. I'll show you the basics along the way. I'm not going to go too crazy with a full video because it's just not needed. But please, guys, give this stuff a go. All right, obviously got to keep the safety in mind. Use things logically. If you're not, one of those people that, is good with that sort of stuff, or your motor skills aren't great, or you're not confident, obviously this is not for you. You've got your other things that you're good at, which I'm not good at, okay? But for you mechanical guys out there, give everything a crack. God, man, like, get some skills, get some better skills, and you will be forever wanted around, because yeah, it's quite scary at the moment where this industry is going when it comes to the repair side. And look, I'm going to do this for the customer. The kit was $200. And I love doing it. So I'll put it together, we'll come back, we'll fit it, and we'll see if it works, which, well, I haven't had one that's failed yet, but there's always a first. All right, so until then, hold tight, and we'll be back. Cheers. All right, so she's all built, all new rubbers, diaphragms, seals, yeah, little check valve, bit of paint. Now she's ready to go on. So we'll get her on there, and I'll show you how to test it.